foster economic opportunities, and much more. And whereas Peoria County takes pride in its responsibility to protect and enhance the welfare and safety of its residents in efficient and cost-effective ways, and where the 2019 National Association of Counties theme is connecting the unconnected aligns well with our county goals for the year. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And whereas Peoria County is participating in National County Government Month by hosting Hands Around the Courthouse, arranging employee wellness fairs, presenting multiple safety and preparedness classes, and promoting sustainability initiatives on social media. Therefore, I, Andrew Rand, Chairman of the County Board, on behalf of this County Board, do hereby recognize April 2019 as National County Government Month, dated this day, the 14th of March.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You have no words? All right. Congratulations to our team of 800 folks here at Peoria County. 800 strong.
Next, a proclamation recognizing April and May 2019 as Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration Months.
This is one of those fun things where we get to promote one of the coolest things that we do outside here. So, but let me get right to it. Whereas the Peoria County Regional Office of Education is committed to the establishment and continuation of programs in the schools which provide the opportunity for academic excellence in students, and whereas the Peoria County Regional Office of Education supports the development and promotion of programs in the fine arts and applied arts, and whereas the Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration is a harbinger of spring, thank goodness, and now includes over 100 schools from 7 central Illinois counties: Peoria, Tazewell, Woodford, Fulton, Marshall, Henry, and McLean. And whereas this year's Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration is the 34th annual event of celebrating the arts in central Illinois, and whereas the 2019 Gerald M. Brookhart Arts and Education Spring Celebration will take place from Monday, April 15th through Friday, May 17th, 2019 at the Peoria County Courthouse Plaza. Now, therefore, I, Andrew A. Rand, Chairman of the Peoria County Board, on behalf of the County Board, do hereby proclaim the months of April and May 2019 as Gerald M. Brookhart 2019 Arts and Education Spring Celebration Months, dated this 14th day of March, AD 2019. Congratulations.
Thank you. 34 years. 34 years our students have been coming down and singing and performing on the courthouse grounds. Please come out and watch them. They are amazing. We need some sunshine because they will be here by April. But as your regional superintendent, it is an honor to have inherited this from the namesake, Gerald M. Brookhart. So just so you know, next year in the biz, we call it the GMB, so we don't have to say the whole thing. And this is our new director this year, Mindy Watkins. If you see her down running crazy on the courthouse grounds, you'll know why. Thank you very much. Come see the kids sing. And if you'd like to sponsor a stage because you want to take the microphone and embarrass a student that's singing or performing and call them out and say their name, please, we would love to have you come see my office across the hall. Thank you.
All right. We can use a drum roll for this one.
So if, for those, how many are you here are for the first time ever in the county chamber? Beth Kreider is always that enthusiastic. That is your regional superintendent, and I call her out because she's one of a kind, and she's like in charge of really important stuff. So what you see is what you get with her. But that's our Beth. Jerry, would you join me up here? I think you could. Of course you didn't. You're the wife. And I saw Sharon Kennedy and Zan Ransberg and Joan Krupa. Would y'all kind of join me up here too? Zan, where's Zan? I know I saw her. Zan. I'm not standing just with Sharon Kennedy. I need a Republican. Where's Zan? Joan. Krupa. Are they really legitimately hiding from me? Okay, you think they might have left. Well, you're here then. It's you and me. Tommy O'Neill, would you come up? So, Tommy, why don't you stand with your wife? I don't mean Sharon, I mean Jerry. Sharon taught Tommy everything he knows about politics. So, why don't you read responsively with me, Sharon? You take the first whereas.
You asked me to do that without my glasses. Whereas Peoria County wishes to recognize and thank Thomas O'Neill III for his 26 years of service to the Peoria County Board, and
whereas Peoria County recognizes Tommy's extensive service to our organization, including being elected by his peers as board chairman from 2009 to 2014 and serving on 15 different committees throughout his board career.
And whereas Thomas O'Neill was chairman of the Transportation Committee, Economic Development Council Committee, and County Operations Committee during his tenure, and
whereas Tommy O'Neill served on multiple advisory committees. Aren't they fun, Tom, those things? Like Meg? Yeah, Meg's one I'm thinking of. During his time in office, including as chairman of the Board of Local Improvements Committee, and
whereas Thomas O'Neill was passionately committed to transportation and infrastructure services in Peoria County, shown through his direction on Highway Department projects, his service on the Peoria Pekin Urban Area Transportation Study Policy Committee, better known as PUATS, and support collaboration between the Highway Department and the City of Peoria Public Works Department, and
whereas Tommy O'Neill was seen as a leader on the board as well as in this community as he retired from the City of Peoria Public Works Department as the lead signal electrician, and he served on the St. Anthony's Church Parish Board of Directors, is a member and former Grand Knight of the Knights of Columbus, coached Limestone Youth in baseball and basketball.
And now, therefore, Andrew Wren, who is chairman of the Peoria County Board, on behalf of the County Board, does here recognize and thank Peoria County Board member, Vice Chairman Thomas O'Neill III for his public service, dated this 14th day of March, AD 2019.
Thanks, Sharon. Congratulations, Tommy. Thank you. So if you're here tonight, on behalf of Tommy O'Neill, please join us for the photograph. Patrick, I know if you're here as part of Tommy's celebration tonight, come join us. There's a bunch of you, bunch of visitors here tonight. I want everybody to see the visitors. Cy, come on, bro. Billy, I know that's why you're here. If you're here because we gave out free food because of Tommy, then you have to come up. Tommy, there's like way more people. I know there are. And Mike's yours, buddy. All these people are here for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What do you say after this long? Well, I can say this lady right here, my wife, I met her on October 29th, 1972, and we've been soulmates since. And all my friends call her St. Jerry, by the way. We are Tom and Jerry, but that's St. Jerry. Because she's put up with me through Limestone Youth Baseball, basketball, refereeing, politics, and you name it. Others. But friends with me here tonight are Cy Maroon, which I worked with the city at Peoria, and Billy Halstead of our Democrat Central Committee. Patrick Urick, what can I say about him? I mean, we had some times working for Peoria County and D.C. and Springfield, and we had some good times. Thank you. Sharon, of course, everybody knows. This is my oldest son, Tom. My granddaughters, Maddie and Gracie. Of course, you met my wife, Jerry, and my daughter-in-law, Stacy, my son, Andy, and Mary Dillon, who is a good friend of mine and also kind of filling in for her son, Jimmy, who was my cohort going on these political trips. And but I just want to thank everyone after all the years, the administrators, the staff at Peoria County, very professional organization, top-notch all the time. I just want to thank you all so much. I'm going to miss it, but I'm not going to miss it. So thank you.
Anybody taking photographs? We'll hold for a sec. Next up are citizens' remarks. And before I change the order of the meeting around again, for those of you that are here tonight, and I suspect that's a good bunch of you, for item 1 under zoning ordinances, it is my understanding that committee chairperson, Mr. Mayor, is going to be referring the resolution tonight back to committee for a couple of adjustments, and we'll be able to hear any of your comments then as well. So if you're inclined to trust us on that referral, feel free to take our word for it. Otherwise, we do have a dozen names in here to speak to the county board tonight. That's that item of business. Next, I'd like to ask for a resolution, a motion from the floor to suspend the rules and create a temporary chairperson for the night, and that would be Mr. Tommy O'Neill, who would finish my duties tonight and act as chairman with full authority. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Mr. Salzer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The nature of our rules permit this, requires consent by y'all. So the motion on the floor is to grant a special permission slip to Mr. O'Neill to use his last night here chairing a meeting of the county board. Please vote.
Fourteen ayes.
Thank you all. Mr. O'Neill? Don't spend any more money than we budgeted now, Tom.
Okay, we are at citizens' remarks, and Mr. Rand already told everyone what we're suspending and what we're not having for tonight's meeting. If you were going to talk on one of those items, it's best probably to wait until the meeting where it's going to be presented on the floor, because there's members that are not here tonight that'll be here, and I won't be here, so. But anyway, you can decline when he calls your name if you want, or you can talk. But as it is now, we have like 12, so it's like 2.5 minutes apiece. And if someone needs to talk longer, if someone else wants to give them their 2.5 minutes, give them 5 minutes, then they can do that. But otherwise, go ahead.
Okay, first name I have Pam Price. She's gonna wait.
Pass, okay.
Second name is Matt Price. That's gonna wait.
Okay.
Barb Gertler.
All right, we're going to need your name and address. And
I am Barb Gertler. I live at 3415 North Sheridan Road, Peoria, 61604. I am a 54-year resident of Peoria, Peoria County, and a longtime member of the Heart of Illinois Sierra Club. I'm presenting the following statement on behalf of the Heart of Illinois group, Sierra Club, in support of the county legislative proposed resolution to amend the Livestock Management Facilities Act. Heart of Illinois Group Sierra Club gives our strong support to Peoria County Board and urges your approval tonight of this much needed resolution. Your County Ways and Means Committee has done its due diligence in covering issues that are of essential concern to the health and welfare of the current and future citizens of our county. Without safe, clean water resources, the viability of our county is in danger. Without healthy air to breathe, the environment for us all is at risk. The issues in your proposed resolution cover the most basic, essential, and reasonable points regarding improvements needed in the existing State Livestock Management Facilities Act. Confined animals feeding operations generate more fecal waste than many rural towns and more odorous and health-threatening air pollution than many zoning-controlled facilities. And that says nothing about its effect on warming climate. Yet our county currently has no say regarding where these multi-thousands of confined animals are located. Heart of Illinois Group Sierra Club asks your votes tonight to approve this much-needed resolution to provide reasonable changes as listed in the resolution. Thank you for listening.
Next, Michael Harmon.
Yes, please, name and address.
Michael Harmon. I live at 215 West Main Street in Princeville. I'm here to discuss my concerns regarding the hog confinement facility being proposed less than a mile from the village of Princeville. My first concern in this action is the negative impact this facility would have on our local hog farmers. This facility is no more a hog farm than Walmart is a corner grocer. These facilities exist for the sole purpose of mass producing protein, which artificially deflates the price of pork and pushes local farmers out of the competitive landscape. My second concern is obviously for the village of Princeville and its residents like myself. While I could belabor many points about the potential issues surrounding pollution and groundwater use and cite numerous examples where such issues have arisen from similar facilities across the state, I will go for the simpler concern, which is property value, which impacts virtually all of our public institutions. It lacks credulity to argue that this facility will not have a strong negative impact on property value. I challenge anyone who would argue otherwise to demonstrate to me any such facility which has had a meaningful economic value and impact within a mile of its placement. This facility, even if well run, will stifle investment and lower existing property values, far exceeding additional revenues it would bring in. Additionally, it offers no local benefit of any kind, creating no jobs or economic impact to the community. Any statement to the contrary is at best uninformed or at worst a deliberate deception. Tonight, maybe not, the county board will vote on a resolution to try to reestablish local control over the construction of these facilities. This is not only wise, but it is crucial to the role of our local government. Other states with more prosperous livestock industries than ours have such controls, and there is no reason for Illinois to be different and no reason why Illinois could not prosper similarly. I would point out that another CAFO was constructed within miles of the village without a vent. It was well placed with sufficient boundaries. The controversy surrounding this facility isn't spurned by activism, it's spurned by common sense, and it's spurned by the total indifference of these corporate entities and lobbyists who have shown no interest in resolving or acknowledging our concerns. It only makes sense that we should control what is built within our county. There is no plausible argument not to do so. If we did not need to do this, why then would we have a county government? The Illinois Livestock Act was
You need
designed.
to wind it up, please.
Oh.
Go ahead for a little bit, but
Oh,
wind
I'm
it
sorry.
up.
I'll skip a bunch. It was 5 minutes when I practiced. So in a nearby county, the citizens were sued and lost that suit. In the Illinois appellate court, they lost that suit again. And if there was any better argument to make a change in this law, I will read to you the words of the justice who made that decision. So in the case of Save Our Sandy versus Department of Agriculture, Justice Pope wrote, "While I agree we are bound by the law cited in the majority decision to deny plaintiffs' standings, I write separately to highlight a very real problem with this legislation. Under the Livestock Act, if the corporation were denied a permit, it would have the right to seek administrative review of that decision. However, if the permit is granted to them erroneously, only a person within the occupied residence area setback of 1,700 feet would have that same right. No one else could do so, even if their property or health were negatively affected. The responsibility for the wisdom of legislation rests with the legislator, and courts may not rewrite statutes to make them consistent with the court's idea of orderliness and public policy. Disagree though I may with the legislation, I am bound to follow the law. Citizens need to address these issues directly with their legislators. And so I come to you and ask you to do that very thing and make this recommendation to our legislators not to stop hog farms or not to really stop anything of any kind, but to give us the right to local control and due process afforded to us in all other things.
Thank you.
Next, Dan Keat.
I think people need to keep in mind this is one of the things that we're not going to vote on tonight.
Good evening. I'll keep it real brief. Dan Kite. I live in Brimfield, 14010 North Klusky Road. And as I read the submission that came from the Ways and Means Committee, my first questions were why there's no minimum number of animal units. You're basically saying that one is too many, and I'm not sure what the definition of a facility is. And so if my chicken coop has more than one chicken in it, then is that a facility, and is that outside of, and so would that fall under the guidance of the EPA? And that's what I would like for you to consider when you send it back. Thank you.
Thank you. Try on this one, Eleanor Basehauer.
I'm Eleanor Basor. I live at 19511 North Brimfield in Laura. I am a fifth-generation farmer of our family farm. This family farm was passed down from my father, who lived in Peoria County, and he farmed in the Princeville area his entire life. I have been and lived and farmed in Peoria County my entire life. Since we started thinking about building a hog building in December of 2017, I have been constantly working to meet the requirements of the Livestock Management Facility Act administered by the Illinois Department of Ag. Our compliance with LMFA requires us to develop and meet engineered design criteria, hiring a registered engineer, provide a site investigation with soil boring, meet FEMA floodplain setbacks, and identify water bodies, streams, wells, abandoned wells that are in the setback areas. I need to meet science-based setback criteria, and finally, this site exceeds the FMLA setbacks. As I continue to meet the long-established and strict requirements of the state of Illinois, some county and community residents are upset with me because the rules are not tough enough, and or they don't like the rules and they need to be changed for my hog barn. There have been misleading and premature comments about contamination of water in the surrounding area, unmanaged smell, and since we are an all-female operation, they don't think that we could be pig farmers. When in the long run, these rules ensure a long-term viability safety of my farm. We are mandated to follow the rules to ensure my 4 daughters to become the next generation of farmers of Peoria County. When farmers succeed, local Peoria County businesses thrive. It is disheartening to read that there are fewer next generation farmers and even family farms. With this pig barn,
If you would, please start to wind it up.
I will still be a family farm, but not a factory farm like people are mentioned. I just Simply want to diversify from my farm and bring livestock into the Peoria County. I have been a farmer my whole life, and it's just my way of life. To be a farmer, your whole heart has to be in it. You know what hard work is and the satisfaction of a job well done. We care about the ground and the water for our children and the children before, even after we are gone. I am, with this opposition like this, and to expose the next generation to this rhetoric, it is very disheartening. Farmers young and old have preserved this area. We have to, otherwise we are out of business. My daughter over there, Evelyn, is my oldest daughter, and she's going to be the next one, the 6th generation farmer. So I appreciate your consideration on this.
Thank you.
Next, Michelle Abel.
Thanks. Michelle Abel. I live at 6123 South Clausen Road in Glassford. I'm a full-time farmer and partner with my dad and brother in our grain and livestock family farm in western part of Peoria County. The last few weeks, I've heard the amount of misinformation being said about the industry I make a living from and pay taxes in this county. My family has raised livestock in Peoria County since the 1950s, started by my grandfather, and that led me to my path. Tonight, I would like to restate the value of the LMFA, which was originally approved in May of 1996. The LMFA has provided a balanced approach in protecting the environment and the way we raise livestock on our farm. Those of us who raise livestock for a living are committed to being good stewards of the natural resources while producing quality meats. It is to our best interest in the land we live in. Here are a few facts missing from some recent headlines, local news reports, and social media comments. The Illinois livestock industry collected public data from state regulatory agencies that reflect declining trends of livestock and related environmental issues, proving that livestock production is a professional industry with established rules that are being followed. Existing regulations such as the LMFA and the IEPA livestock rules, they are working. Farmers work very hard to be good stewards of their animals, their land, and their environment. In fact, according to the most recent data available from the Illinois IPA, fewer than 1% of the livestock in Illinois have any environmental issues. Peoria County is rich in agriculture history. We are home to one of the 4 USDA laboratories, and Peoria once was the home of the Peoria Stockyards, which held a lot of livestock. Sorry, guys. We have a rich
You have 30 seconds.
We have a rich history of multi-generation farm families, such as ours, who are not new in raising livestock. In an age where the average age of our farmers are increasing, we need to invest and encourage in the new generations of the agriculture in our county and our area. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, Cindy Arnett.
Hi, my name is Cindy Arnett. I live in Lewistown, Illinois, and I spoke to you guys last meeting. I am here this time, though, as a person who has a farm right next to a confinement. And I'm not happy. I'm not happy in any sense. But as I sat here today, I've listened to people on this side of the room who have commented about the city folk need to go home. I am not city folk. And there's many people who are being chased off their property who are multi-generational farmers by these confinements because they simply cannot live there. If you are a producer and you're disapproving of any improvements on the LMFA, you need to step back and think about what's going on. This was approved in the 90s. There's always room for improvement. Mr. Anderson's very good at his job, which is to promote and facilitate these industrial farms being constructed, and he takes his job very seriously. As we noticed in the committee meeting, he pointed to where one of my colleagues lives. He even handed out maps to everybody, showing them where the colleague lives. That's really borderline creepy on my part. But he was showing her proximity to a farm. He failed to mention that that particular farm had paid fines because the city of Glassford could not tolerate it. And this is from Lisa Madigan. But they paid $210,000 in cost of compliance with consent orders. They also paid another $5,000 civil penalty. Now, he was saying that that was a good neighbor. Would that be a good neighbor if they had to go that far to get the Lisa Madigan involved? I'm thinking there's a problem here that needs to have local control. I'm sure every one of you have been
30 seconds.
contacted by the entities in the room to tell you that you cannot possibly pass this. Well, I'm telling you can. It's your job to look out for your citizens. Their job is to look out for their industry. I am talking to you from the perspective of the other side, those who are suffering with what's going on. I will gladly talk to each one of you if you ask. I have stated I'm sick and heartbroken about my property. As this unfolded, people approached me as though I had a death in the family. I did. It was my farm, my third-generation farm.
Wind it up, please.
Yes. I have friends who have previously owned or grown up with confinements that are now vegetarians. I think that makes a huge statement in what this industry really is. I have many that are not also. But the last time I spoke to your board, I talked about the importance of the resolution to your state and elected body. I encourage you to pass the resolution after you make your revisions, because you're doing this for your voting citizens, your property owners, and your communities. They're counting on you to protect them, and they're counting on you to make wise decisions on their behalf. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, Cheryl Walsh.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Cheryl Walsh, and I live at 624 Ayton Avenue in Princeville, Illinois. As a young pork producer who chose to return to my family farm in Peoria County following college and to raise my children on our multi-generational family farm, I need to share my frustrations with this county government body. The Livestock Management Facility Act, otherwise known as the LMFA, it is working. 99.9% of Illinois livestock farms did not receive any water pollution or odor complaints in 2017. This data proves that environmental problems are an extremely rare occurrence, and current environmental regulations are working. As a livestock farmer, I utilize best management practices and new technologies to minimize odors from our farm and manure application, including feed additives, pit enzymes, tree buffers, and the incorporation of manure. We use that manure as a fertilizer, and farmers really do appreciate that. The new livestock laws and regulations are not needed for problems that do not exist. The statewide uniform LMFA, it is working. Individual farmers and livestock industry are investing time and resources every day to educate farmers to further improve environmental performance and compliance. Livestock has proven to be a part of an environmentally sustainable system. Not that long ago, I was asked, who am I? Who am I? Well, I am a mom of two amazing daughters. I am a sister, an aunt, a daughter, a granddaughter, a farmer, an educator, and most recently, I have become an advocate for the agriculture industry. In closing, I would like to ask a question. There are a lot of people here who oppose the Illinois Department of Agriculture being a neutral party and governing livestock facilities.
You have 30 seconds.
Would those people please raise their hands? Thank you. On the other hand, some people here believe the Illinois Department of Ag should still remain a neutral party and still be involved with governing livestock facility. Would those people please raise their hands? Thank you.
Thank you.
Rocky Hudson. Wayne Pugh.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Pugh. I reside in Akron Township on Akron Road between Dunlap and Edelstein. I have produced corn, soybeans, pork, and beef in Peoria County for more than 45 years. I've observed significant changes in agriculture over that period, as I'm sure everyone here tonight has in the industry in which they work. I do have a number of questions that I would like everyone here tonight to answer to their own, from their own perspective. Number one, do we currently have a problem in Peoria County with our livestock industry? Number two, do we have a problem with the siting of any buildings, pick a period, let's say the last 10 years? Number three, does EPA in Peoria County have issues that have not been resolved? Does the Illinois Department of Agriculture have any issues that have not been resolved in Peoria County? I've had the opportunity as president of Peoria County Pork Producers, board member of the Illinois Pork Producers, president of the National Pork Board, and executive board member of the United States Meat Export Federation, to view the animal agriculture both locally and globally. From what I have learned, we have people who think that the LMFA is broken. Should have put my glasses on before I came up here. It's broken and needs repair. Old age, and I don't accept it well. There are apparently a number of people here tonight who feel that local control would be better. And I would ask, I guess, the fifth question: what exactly are you trying to fix? My viewpoint is that LMFA works.
You have 30 seconds.
I think producer groups in agriculture are certainly looking at methods for all of agriculture that will provide environmentally sound, sustainable products that are safe and wholesome to each and every one of you. I challenge anyone who thinks there's a better food source than what we have here in the United States. I urge you not to add another hoop for producers to jump through if what we have is working. And my closing comment would be, please keep the welcome sign in Peoria County for both agriculture, in this instance, animal agriculture. Keep the welcome sign out for all of that. I think it's in everyone's benefit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy Smith. Next, consent agenda.
Phil?
I would like to pull C7.
Alan? Thank you. I have a motion and a second by Jim Fennell to move and approve, and Phil's going to pull C7. Anything else? All right, seeing no more, we're going to vote on everything but C7 and the consent agenda.
14 ayes.
Thank you. Okay, C7. I need a motion to put it on the floor. Phil, Jim, go ahead, Phil.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I pulled this because I'd like to make a motion to, first of all, send it back to the Infrastructure Committee.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, second by Andrew.
Oh, okay, now,
go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, the reason that this has been pulled, I'm glad so many people are here in the audience, because I think they know that we try to be good guardians of their money and so forth, and I think we generally have been in most cases, and that's why this is a very, very costly project that we're talking about out here in the area of the Dirksen Highway, where we have the two roads, Middle Road and Airport Road, being brought together and so forth, the improvement and so forth out there. And we know that it's very, very important to our means of transportation in that region and so forth. And I want to take this back to our committee and look at some aspects that have to do with maybe looking at an alternative design. And by looking at that alternative design, we hope that that will eventually save us a lot of money. And we want to try and get some answers to this, and from maybe our administration, as well as other companies and so forth. And I don't know whether we involved ourselves with some type of a technique known as rotalization. It's being done by the company that's working over there on Interstate 74. So if it's being done on 74, then the state must have a good idea in regards to this. And we need to perhaps examine some other alternatives to see if they can save us any money.
All right, thank you. Anything else on that? This vote is to send it back to committee.
Fourteen ayes.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I
Go
could
ahead.
just make a comment, Mr. Clerk, the colors and everything are so nice tonight, and the new fonts. Thanks for doing that.
I'm glad. I can't take credit for it.
The whole one button thing is recommended by the three newcomers. So this is Windish, Renault, and Rutherford's request not to have to push two buttons.
All right,
Thank
next, zoning ordinance and resolutions. Item 1, a resolution from your Ways and Means Committee recommending approval of a legislative proposal to amend the Livestock Management Facilities Act.
Alan.
Mr. Chairman, we'd like to move to send this back to the Ways and Means Committee. I'll wait for a second and I'll say a few words.
Okay, Phil, second. Go ahead and say your words.
So there has been some concern about some of the language in the resolution being one of the items was mentioned. The phrase "regardless of size" was used by the folks who drafted it. That part was not me. Folks had the concern that was raised under public comment. I think we want to try to straighten that out to make sure that it's only the folks that are normally covered by the Livestock Facilities Management Act that we're talking about. Part of the reason we want to send it back to committee is if you look at the board, we're missing 4 folks tonight. We're down 4, including 2 of the folks who have been most active on this issue, Mr. Elsasser, who's obviously been very involved because of the facility that's been proposed in his district, and Mr. Dillon, who actually requested that we draft this resolution, who's the chairman of the Land Use Committee, neither of whom could be here this evening. And so as a result, since we'd like to get their input as part of it, let's send it back to committee.
All right, thank you. Anything else on this? So a yes vote will be to send it back to committee. Please vote.
14 ayes. Item 2, a resolution from your County Health Committee recommending approval of a 3-year contract with Affiliated Home Dialysis, LLC, for dialysis services at Headington Oaks.
Sharon and Jim. Go ahead, Sharon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I didn't want this on the consent agenda because I kind of wanted to highlight this as a positive move for Headington Oaks. So what we've done is we're looking at a 3-year agreement with Affiliated Home Dialysis, and this would fill in the spot where when we initially opened the facility, we had a dialysis unit, and we had an agreement, but the company went bankrupt. So this is really going to be a good thing for Headington Oaks. The revenue that we're expecting to bring in from this is about $1 million. Currently, we have 4 dialysis residents, and we're hoping that that will bring more people to the facility and increase the census.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr. O'Neill, I
Go
would
ahead.
just add, I had a chance to study this again this week with Mr. Sorrell and Ms. Muscle, and the contribution margin, that which is left after expenses, is on the order of $400,000. The revenues were $1 million, so it's a pretty interesting scenario. And if we were at capacity, which is the best case scenario, which I would never put in a business plan, that could be up to 18 patients, each with similar contribution margins. So this is a pretty significant arrangement, and I spent some time kicking the tires this week so that I would be able to stand behind Ms. Williams and say what I just said.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands. Oh, Greg?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I see in the background discussion it did say $1 million of revenue, so you're saying it was $600,000 of cost, because there's no cost number here.
Yes.
And that's based on 4 patients?
Yes.
We currently have 4 in the facility. Is that correct, Scott?
Today there are 4 in the facility. The business plan, these numbers assume an average census of 6 to 8 residents being receiving the services.
Thank you.
We can accommodate, as Mr. Rand stated, up to 18.
Thank you. Did you have that correction, Greg?
So, you know, it says here Headington Oaks has a full-service dialysis unit, but, I mean, it does not have a dialysis unit. There's a place there because there's never been anyone dialyzed at Headington Oaks, correct?
Correct.
And we do not have any staff that does dialysis?
Today we do not.
So who is going to manage, if this happens, who is that?
So we will have a registered nurse that will be a supervisor, and we will have CNAs monitoring vitals of the residents. The type of dialysis services being delivered under this contract are more akin to what you'd see in a residential setting. In fact, if a patient or resident actually is discharged from Headington Oaks, they'd be using the same equipment in their home if they were receiving dialysis treatment in their home. So it's a different type of dialysis treatment than what was originally envisioned when we constructed the facility, which was a much more intensive dialysis type of treatment. And that's about the extent of my medical knowledge on dialysis.
It's peritoneal dialysis.
And that's all, so it's not hemodialysis?
Correct.
So right now, you're saying people that come in that are doing this at home will be able to get their care at the nursing home, because I believe right now if someone's getting hemodialysis, they cannot, they're going to stay with their center if they're in the locality. Is that correct?
So the service can only be offered to residents of Headington Oaks or patients of Headington Oaks. If they receive hemodialysis at this point, I suspect that they would continue to receive that. I know Mr. Newkirk is in the other room, and if we want some clarity from him, I'm sure we can have him come in and talk a little bit about that from the medical side.
And then, so as someone in healthcare, this is a bigger step than a lot of other things that are going to be happening in a nursing home. So my real question is the management side, and I think I heard registered nurse, but who's managing it then? So
the contract with Affiliated, they are for lack of a better term, a therapy service provider, just as we have physical therapy service provider in the facility now. So they're a vendor. They manage that. They bill for their portion of Medicare that they're eligible to bill for. And then we are able then to capture our own Medicare billing for both the resident being in the facility and for other therapies that resident will receive while in our care.
So, one other question. We have 4 people in peritoneal dialysis now at the nursing home?
Yes, that's correct.
That's my question. How are they getting their care now?
They leave the facility to go to a third-party vendor that delivers those services today.
Okay, so they go to a dialysis center.
Correct.
Thank you.
Can I just add something? They leave the facility for it's 3 days a week, and they get a sack lunch, and they miss their physical therapy. So if they stay in the facility, they can get their dialysis, eat lunch, and still get their physical therapy.
So I see here at the bottom it also says we're getting additional insurance to do this as far as risk management. It's just, again, let me just reiterate, this is a big deal, and if we're going to do this, we want to make sure we get it right. What's our CMS rating right now at the nursing home?
I believe we are 3-star. We're either 2 or we're 2-star right now. We're waiting for the impact of the results of the clean annual survey that we had late fourth quarter of last year. That should bump it up.
That it? Please vote.
Fourteen ayes.
Thank you.
Item 3, a resolution from the chairman of the Executive Committee and the County Administrator recommending Peoria County pledge its support for the U.S. Department of Transportation Automated Driving Systems Demonstration Grant by committing up to $100,000 annually for fiscal years 2020, 2021, and 2022 to be used as local matching funds.
Andrew? Sharon? Seeing no hand. Greg?
So is this, if the grant, I mean, if there's no grant that is gotten out of this proposal, then there's no promise of money?
Correct. We'll only expend those dollars if the grant is awarded by USDOT.
You know, so do we know what the other counties have promised for this?
So Tazewell County has been approached, but they have not met yet. City of Peoria, it's not been on their agenda either. There's private sector support as well, and not-for-profit entity support that will total somewhere between $1.75 and $2 million when all is said and done, spread over a 3-year period.
I am going to vote no on this, and I think that all of us need to ask the question, number one, you know, when's the last time we essentially gave a lot of money to a private entity and it worked out really well? I heard earlier that there was a cost of $150,000 that was a big cost. This is a $300,000 cost to the county. And the other thing is, you know, is anyone personally giving any money to this? I think this is a private sector entity, and the private sector would be the better place rather than go to the people for this one. My understanding is that this proposal, if passed, they're going to have 5 cars.
The number of vehicles that will be tested in downtown Peoria is in flux. It's going to be between 3 and 5. That'll likely occur regardless of the outcome of the grant application. DOT does require a public entity to be the grant applicant, so the private sector cannot. But that's also why we've built a public-private partnership and enlisted partners from both sectors. And Tri-County Regional Planning Commission is the actual applicant. They've got a commitment of over $150,000 of their funds over the 3-year period into the bucket as well. And as I said, regardless of the outcome of the grant, autonomous stuff, which is the private sector entity that is already working in this technology sector, is going to be testing cars in Peoria this summer. What this grant does is it creates an opportunity for economic development for Peoria and the Peoria region. It creates the opportunity for us to see other companies come here, create living wage jobs, and make Peoria be a place where significant work will be done as US DOT writes the rules for how autonomous vehicles will work and be used on our public roadways.
Just one other thing. Most people that think about this know this is coming. It just doesn't seem like it's a good spend for the people's money. So I'm going to vote no.
Rachel?
Scott, could you just tell us where those funds would come from if the grant is approved and we are participating?
So what I told Executive Committee is we've not identified the source of funds yet. If we get the grant, we'll come back to the committee with a recommendation on where those dollars could come from. Being economic development, it can come from a couple of different places that we have available to us.
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, go ahead.
Since this comes out of my committee, and of course I follow Dr. Adamson's remarks completely. We're taking a bit of a risk here, supporting with our dollars and a whole bunch of other folks an application for a grant that effectively fixes the roads and puts the telecommunications structure on the roads, so that these systems developed by organizations like Autonomous Stuff, because they really don't build a car, they build the parts that talk to the car and control the car and analyze left, right, stop, go, that stuff. Having a test bed in our downtown community, if successful, portends the other just-in-time manufacturers that are partners with organizations like Autonomous Stuff to come and test here too, subcomponents that they manufacture of the autonomous industry. So it's a pretty neat little proposal, and of course the only risk we have is that they fail, and in that endeavor we'd be losing $100,000 for the next 3 years. The upside, on the other hand, is jobs. Retention of our young people into applied sciences, in manufacturing, and nobody, Dr. Adamson thinks in this room, I hope, that we're going to be the next Silicon Valley, but right here in Morton, Illinois, these guys are so far ahead of the curve with Autonomous Stuff to want to use our downtown for the testing, which is what this basic grant is about, fix the roads and get the telecommunication structure in, because it's very different than 5G stuff for the testing. I think it's a very prudent thing to do. And joining the regional governments who are involved in this, and then the private sector, I think this is a pretty smart thing for the county to be a participant in. Thank you.
Thank you. Kate?
I'm assuming a good source of these funds are probably Keystone funds, which I think from the history was another risk that we took on a business. and it paid off well. So I'd like to bring that up as far as the risk is concerned, and I think that the risk is worth it. I think it's an exciting endeavor, and I think autonomous vehicles, I think, are going to happen regardless of whether it happens in Peoria, but I think that this is a smart move for us to try and have them happen here. So,
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, there's good ideas that come in the United States all the time in the state of Illinois. It's a creative place, and that's a lovely thing, but I don't think the public money is venture capital. And so there is risk, and the county's been burned before. So I would give everyone pause to think about that.
Anyone else? Seeing no more hands, please vote.
Thirteen ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you.
Item 4, a resolution from the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee and the administrator recommending approval of the proposal of the MGT Consulting for the purpose of completing a cost allocation plan for Peoria County at a cost not to exceed $45,900.
Alan, Phil, Alan and Phil. Any questions? Greg?
Yeah, just a few questions. Number one, so we're talking about the MGT Consulting. This is, again, we had one firm respond to our proposal.
We did. There's a limited number of folks that do this work. We actually had originally worked with the vendor that did the indirect cost allocation plan 5 years ago and sought a scope of services from them and a price quote from them to do that work. Their price quote exceeded the county administrator's spending authority, so we put it out for RFP, hoping that they would respond. They chose not to. MGT is a well-known, respected firm. This is work that they do on a regular and recurring basis. We advertise this in all of the typical places you would advertise for work like this, which is above and beyond the statutory requirements for posting of a procurement such as this. It is what it is in that we only got one respondent.
Scott, where are they?
MGT is, they do have offices in Illinois. I'm trying to think if they have an office here locally, though. I'm looking, they do not have an office locally, but they do have offices in Illinois.
So here's a couple more questions, and then I'll close. But it said that there was a feeling or a belief that the health department would go from 10 to 35% as far as increase in their indirect cost, the way it was accounted for. Do you know what the number would be in grant money that would be coming to the health department if that assumption or that estimate was right? Did they give any idea? Give you any idea?
The range was between 150 and 200,000 per year.
And then I'm going to assume that the 70-30 split on the cost was county 70, health department 30, because that wasn't clear.
That is correct. The cost allocation plan needs to be done for the entire organization, and then there's components for courts, which is a general fund department, and the balance then is what would specifically be done for the health department.
Steve?
I guess just to continue on with Dr. Adamson's comments, I had the same concerns about only one responder, and my other question would be, how does this quote compare to the actual cost that we had with our previous provider? So we kind of know, is it in the the range that we previously had paid.
Right. So not really an apples-to-apples comparison in that the federal government changed part of 2 CFR 200. What was done last time was a smaller scope of work than what is done here. What's new is that we are now able to negotiate our rate of indirect costs, and that was an added scope item in the RFP. The previous vendor's quote was less than this, but was probably, if I remember correctly, was somewhere between that $19,999 limit, which is my spending limit, and in the mid 20,000, so in the $26,000 range. So yes, we are paying more than what we had planned. Had Bellwether been able to respond, they would have been less than this. They chose not to, and I'll just put a period there. Happy to answer any of the questions.
Alan?
But Scott, we're kind of under the gun on this. If we were to not approve this tonight, try to go back out into the field, we'd essentially miss a deadline for adjusting these indirect cost plans.
Right. So so this will take several months of work to complete, and the health department and the courts need to be in a position to start negotiating their indirect rate with the federal grant agencies this summer in time for the start of the federal fiscal year.
And not a question, but sort of if you don't operate in the accounting, auditing world, you may not realize how utterly acute the shortage of CPAs is, let alone folks who are qualified to not only do yellow book stuff, but this extraordinarily precise work that needs to be done for a set of constantly changing federal regulations. It's not as though it's a construction company where you can get a number of bids, because there's a lot of local people who do it. The number of folks, because there just quite frankly aren't that many entities that do it, and there's a huge shortage of qualified individuals and firms who can do it. So yes, it kind of sucks that we only got one bid, but on the other hand, the not to exceed roughly $49,000, and we may not even spend that the health department alone could be recouping $100,000 a year from this. The cost benefit of this is sort of self-evident.
Thank you. Greg?
So just to follow up with what Mr. Mayor said, is this mainly federal dollars that are going to come when they
Correct. They're either direct
for
federal dollars or federal dollars passed through the state of Illinois.
And you might recall our conversation when we were talking about the legislative package, and we talked about the MFT stuff and the state statute that dealt with grants and how they should just have one of the two, either the MFT audits or this other thing called the GATA Act. So state grants are covered under GATA, and if you want to be able to charge indirect costs under there, you got to follow the federal rules and have one of these, even if it was a purely state grant. They won't let you just charge indirect costs anymore without one of these studies.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, please vote.
$14 ayes.
Thank you. We're up to miscellaneous and announcements, and I think we'll start on Matt's side and go around the horseshoe that way. No. Kate?
So I have put one of these envelopes on everybody's desk. I sing with the Morton Civic Chorus. We actually meet in Peoria, but this is my 5th year singing with them. We from January to May, we practice on Monday nights, and we sing for a good cause, which raises money for the Central Illinois Memorial Kidney Fund. We also ask for donations in the community. The funds go to pay for kidney dialysis patients who can't afford transportation, other costs for living outside of their medical bills. They could help with, electric bill assistance, that kind of thing. So this is a benefit to kidney dialysis patients. And also in there is a save the date. So 1, I'm asking if you can make a donation. 2, come see the show. All the ticket sales, the money that we raise goes directly towards SimCAF. And we also have a program. If anybody would like to buy an ad in a program, talk to me about it later. Thank you.
Thank you. No? Steve, no? Greg?
Yes, it's just, it's been a real honor to work with you, Mr. O'Neill, and congratulations to yourself and your family and everything you've done. Thank you and everything you continue to do.
Thank you so much. I know we spend a lot of time together as family, but now it's going to be more. Sharon? Paul?
Yeah, I
Paul?
echo what he just said. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Paul.
Tommy, I just want to thank you also. It's been a pleasure working with you. And even before I got on the board, you helped me years ago. And I just want to thank you for all that you've done.
You bet.
Yeah.
Rachel?
Me too. Just want to thank you. And then you were always there when I called you for whatever I needed, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Jim?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And I'm glad to see your son here tonight and what he went through a few years back. And to St. Jerry over there, I wish the both of you good luck in your future.
Thank you so much. Alan?
You enjoy yourself, T.O. So
you
and I have we've had we'll continue to lift a pint now and again.
Oh yeah, there you go. I'm not going forever. I'm not dead. Phil?
Tom, thanks for all your service. And what most people don't know in this room, he was an official in football. And most of you don't know the positions. You think they're all referees, but Tommy had that position as an umpire. Now that's the guy that gets in there where the game is won and lost. That's where he takes care of all the linemen and so forth. And Tom, you are a good umpire.
Thank you so much. I know I got hit a lot. Andrew?
Yeah, man. I don't know what to say to you. I'd just be belaboring the meeting. A couple of things. One, tonight's cupcakes are sponsored by Miss Rachel over here. Okay, so
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you.
2, we have a gift for you here. The people at Illini Golf expect to see you there tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you so much.
And Stephen Morris didn't give me any good lines today, but your hands and words and deeds will be carved on everyone's hearts forever.
I know.
So thank you.
I know that I'll miss Steve and Mike and Mary. I already miss them, But
well, we all think that it's your words, deeds, and actions that are carved on people's hearts forever. Not your name on a building somewhere. It's your deeds. So thank you, pal.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I know these two guys both have.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have 2 quick things. One, for those watching at home, we're live streaming not only on Facebook now, but also on YouTube. And then our YouTube channel will also now be a permanent archive for video in addition to our website. So feel free to access it that way as well. Secondly, all of you should have at your desks our budget in brief. We used to do this way back in the day. It's been a number of years since we've done a budget in brief. We have many copies available, so if you want a stack to give to your constituents, please see Gretchen, and she'll be happy to get a group of, or a stack of those to you. And then lastly, Mr. Chairman, my thanks to you for your years of service. You're always a staff favorite based on your tenure with the city of Peoria. We always said you always got the staff side because you were staff during your day job, we've been here roughly the same amount of time, and I wouldn't trade any of it for the world.
I remember when we both started. And Karen, go ahead.
Okay, I put the statement of economic interest at everyone's desk. We did go live with the new program last Friday, so you're welcome to, you should have gotten an email, so you're welcome to use that link to register and file your statement. However, we are required to give you paper notices until you go file online and choose email notifications. So you have a choice. You can give us back the paper statement or file online. I'll put it right here with it. Sure.
Anything else? Thank you so much to everyone. It's been great working with everyone. It's great working with all the departments in Peoria County. Everyone's great professionals here, and I appreciate it. Thank you. We be adjourned.